I'm Jim Berenger filling in for Miguel Mike Medina. Game 4, the Stanley Cup Final is in the books. The Vegas Golden Knights survive against the Florida Panthers surge to hold on to a 3-2 victory and now are one win away from hoisting the Stanley Cup for the first time in franchise history. And we'll get to that in a minute. But Game 4, surgical by the Vegas Golden Knights. What a game it was. Now, I will say the back half of that game was all Panthers, and the Vegas Golden Knights had to survive to hang on to this one because Adin Hill was in the zone all night long. But Vegas came out. They came out strong. They start the Eichel line with Marchessault and Barbashev. They set the tone. They had 4 scoring chances early, and then a minute 39 on a bad change. Chandler Stevenson becomes the 10th different goal scorer for the Vegas Golden Knights in the series. He opens it up. It's 1-0. Florida has a nice little surge. Adin Hill stops Matthew Tkachuk a couple of times. They go back and forth, solid period. And that's what you figured. You know, it was a carbon copy of Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Final where Carolina was trailing. They just lost the overtime game. They come out strong. Bobrovsky keeps it 1-0. You're like, okay, well, that's a win for the Panthers. And it felt like a win for the Panthers in Game 4, too. You survived. You knew Vegas was going to come out strong, and they did. They get the first goal. But we were wondering when that push was coming because we know what Vegas can do. We've seen it against Dallas, Game 6. I mean, Miguel Mike Medina and I have documented this everywhere. They can take over a game, and they did. Stevenson gets his second. Then William Karlsson makes it 3-0. He's the 11th different goal scorer in the series. And they were just taking away the middle of the ice. They were not giving anything to the Florida Panthers. They were continuously getting shots. They were taking over the game. And maybe they laxed a little. And then Montour gets a double to go in past Hill. They have them at the end of the period. They're trading chances, they're getting chances. Then Boff gets his goal, makes it 3-2. Okay, and you're like, oh, here we go again. The Cardiac Cats are going to do it again. But Vegas slowed the game back down. Eichel had chances. The thing was for Vegas, they put a lot into Bobrovsky's chest, especially when they had the lead. And I think they sacked back too much. And I think that's something that they're going to change if they have a lead in Game 5, because I do not expect Vegas to just sit back on a lead. I expect them to come out and win the game early like they've done so many times in closeout games. And Adin Hill was fantastic. Not a lot of penalties called. Vegas then had a mini surge late in the third. You thought maybe they have chances. They didn't. Bobrovsky was great. Tkachuk missed 10 minutes of the third because he's dealing with the shoulder. Uncertainty for Game 5. You expect he's going to play. It's a day off on Monday before Game 5 goes on Tuesday. So he's got another day off. Him to play now. Tkachuk's out on the ice, 5 minutes, 2.5 minutes left. They get a power play. Adin Hill, another great save in the dying seconds as Tkachuk tries to tie the game. Maybe healthy shoulder. He tries to lift it, but he gets the pad out. Then all heck breaks loose, skirmish, fights, all this stuff. Tkachuk in the middle of it. As always, I'm not sure this is the wisest thing to do with a bad wing. And that's the kind of stuff that got the Panthers going against Boston in round 1. This is their second 3-1 deficit. It's so hard to do in a Stanley Cup final. Only Toronto Maple Leafs did it in 1942, and they were down 3-0. I mean, one game at a time. But not against this Vegas team. This team knows how to close out games. And yes, they're not going to get into this little stuff. This was after the game, after the buzzer. You expect Vegas to come out business-like. Look, Panthers are beat up. Can they rely on Bobrovsky? Absolutely. Can he steal 3 games? Absolutely. But it's going to be tough because the Stanley Cup's in the building. Bill Foley stated 6 years in that this team would have a Stanley Cup. They're now 1 win away. And, man, this Golden Knights team is very, very strong. They look good. And, again, good on Florida for not taking many penalties, but they got to get their emotions in check in Game 5 because Vegas was not a pretty building for them in the first 2 games. And if it wasn't for a bounce in Game 3, we're talking about a sweep, a potential sweep. Okay, so the Golden Knights have definitely been the better team. They're the deeper team. If Florida wants to extend this to 6, they need more step up. Carter Verhaeghe, we need more from Barkov. We need more from Duclair. for Sam Bennett and Samurai. We need more. Vegas is just too good. They're healthier. They just roll 4 lines. Defensively, they're taken away from the middle of the ice. It should be a good game 5. But Vegas 1 win away from the Stanley Cup. And hoisting it, man, what a remarkable 6 seasons it's been there. Second trip to the final. Again, if they lift the cup, man, so much history on the line. But game 5 goes Tuesday night, and it should be a fun one to watch. This has been Jim Berenger filling in for Miguel Mike Medina here on Hockey Playoff Edition on the MMM Journal.